we have something called a slat. When you're married, it's a fabulous technique. And I'm going to talk a lot about that after the break. That's definitely you can use if you're married. When you're married, you can make gifts to your spouse during lifetime unlimited. Doesn't use your exemption. There's an unlimited marital deduction for a spouse who is a U.S. citizen. If they are not a U.S. citizen, it is not unlimited. You are capped at $175,000 per year. That's indexed for inflation. That's the current number this year. Okay. Let me just advance the slide. The Q-tip trust is a trust that you can create either during your lifetime or under a will. And it's a special trust. It's qualified terminable interest property trust, right? So a qualified terminal interest property trust, we call it Q-tip, not those little cotton things, but it's a trust where you can have the income to your spouse. You must give the income to your spouse as a minimum. You can have some principal, and then generally the remainder to the children, right? So why would you do this? Sometimes with blended families these days, you want to provide for your spouse, but you also want to guarantee that there's something left for your kids, because sometimes there's second marriages and then you have kids when your spouse has kids, and you don't want to leave everything to your spouse, because then if you die first, then your spouse gets everything, and then they might leave to their kids and then leave your kids out in the cold. So this is a great tool where you can do both. You can leave money for your spouse now, but then after your spouse dies, what's left, the principal, can go to your kids, right? When you have this type of trust, it's included in your spouse's gross estate. So that spouse's gross estate would pay the tax, if any, and we write that into the will as well. The marital trust for a non-citizen spouse is called a QDOT. You're going to see lots of acronyms here, right? We love acronyms. Qualified domestic trust. So this is when you have a non-citizen spouse. And the reason they do this is because the IRS doesn't want to lose the money, right? They're afraid that your non-citizen spouse, as soon as you die, is going to grab that money and run away to a foreign country, and they're never going to be able to tax it again, right? So there's special rules, and I won't get into all of them, but there's special rules on who can be a trustee. If the trust is over a certain amount, you might have to have a financial institution as a trustee, and there's different reasons of how, who can be a trustee, they have to be a citizen as well. So there's a lot of rules so that the IRS, when in doubt, the IRS wins, right? So they can keep track of the money.